Thank you, Chp. Hello, Swamiji. Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to all the devotees present here. This is the fourth one in the series of Shravana Sadhana, Bhagavad Gita Jnana. We are in the second chapter. This will be a final revision one. Over to you, Master. Thank you.
Hari Om. Before I begin, a request. Kindly turn your mobile phones into mute or turn them off. That way, they don't become a disturbance for ourselves or for anybody else around us. सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः Hari Om. Is the volume okay or is it too high? In the last two episodes of this second chapter, we saw through up until the 54th shloka. The 55th onwards is where we have the Sthita Prajna Lakshana. But since it has been about 2 months, in this very first session, I think it is a requirement to recap what we have learned in the last 2 episodes. Otherwise, it will be like starting somewhere in the middle of something without a connection. There is not an individual in this world who does not have problems miseries, or sorrows. In the journey from the womb to the tomb, there is constantly going to be ups and downs. Nobody can avoid being in a situation which can lead to misery, sorrow, agitations. It is inevitable. If somebody were to ask, if I listen to Vedanta, if I come to the temple, if I do the Tirtha Yatras, will these problems, sorrow, misery reduce? If I do some extra puja, extra havan, extra something, can these problems disappear? Vedanta is very realistic. It is not a magic wand that you can, like a Harry Potter, swing it and all the problems vanish. That is not going to happen. Instead, what it teaches us is how to face it so that I do not get into those situations again and again. So, the very analysis that is made is what is the root cause of our sorrow. From the highest standpoint, though the Upanishad, though the Vedantic literature points at something, we constantly try to find a scapegoat to blame why I am sorrowful, why I am going through the misery. We point our fingers at somebody. Usually it is the weakest link in our chain of connections. They become the scapegoat, blamed by us, that because of them, I have this problem. Because of these situations, I have these sorrows. We always try to point something else outside. Now, Vedanta takes a completely different route. It says that the basic cause for our sorrow is called ignorance, avidya. Ignorance of what is equally important. It is not the external ignorance of some place or thing, but it is ignorance of our own true nature, our own self. And because of this ignorance, avidya, there is kama and karma. Avidya becomes the root cause and it branches out into kama and karma. Kama, desires, and to fulfill those desires, different kinds of activities that we engage ourselves in. And this is a very unusual solution. When you look at the entire field of theology, philosophy, across the globe, usually the solutions given identify the source of your misery. And usually the drishti is always outside. Here, Vedanta goes much, much deeper. It says, the cause for our misery is not anything external. Though it may be the triggering factor for me to receive my misery, but they are not the cause. They are the media with which it has reached me. In English, there is a saying when we say, don't shoot the messenger. If there is somebody giving you a bad news, because you did not like the news, you don't shoot the messenger. The entire field of experience is similar, that whatever experience that I am going through is through them, but not by them. If you can understand the difference, it is through them, but not by them. But immediately we see that through who I have received this pain, sorrow, misery, I instantly blame that individual as the cause for my suffocation. But instead, it is in fact my own ignorance of my own true self. And why does that become a cause? That becomes a cause because it triggers karma and karma. It triggers desires, and the desires churn activities. The activities then become imprints and vasanas. Those vasanas, when they strengthen, again express out as desires. And these desires again prompt us into action. There is a continuous chain of this karma, karma, vasana cycle which is continuously repeated. And as this keeps repeating, how long this repetition continues? As long as there is vasana. Therefore, whether it is in Bhaja Govindam or any other Mahatma speaking on this particular topic, they say the effort should be to transcend this cycle of birth and death. Why is it that is important? Because as long as I am caught up in my avidya, kama, karma, vasana chakra, this cycle of birth and death continuously keeps engaging me, completely caught up in this worldliness. Therefore, one should understand that this self within whose knowledge, having whose knowledge removes that ignorance and thereby the karma and karma. Bhagavan goes through the entire logic because one of the reasons in the first chapter that Arjuna had mentioned that killing all these swajana, his gurus, his teachers, his uncles, his brothers' children, these are all swajana. Killing all these people is the most miserable act. The Bhagavan says, this is born out of your ignorance in not understanding that which is enlivening self is indestructible. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Though the body gets destroyed, the enlivening aspect does not get destroyed. The body changes. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunhati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Just like the individual wearing clothes, once the purpose of the cloth is done, I change into a newer cloth or a fresh cloth. When I come to a temple, I wear something. When I go somewhere else, I wear appropriate clothing. But once I come back, I change. Similarly, the jiva is wearing this external layer of the body. The body changes, the one which is enlivening this body, that does not change. This aspect has to be understood, O Arjuna. Not understanding this ignorance is causing you your misery. So how should I get out of this? Therefore he says, Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Perform your swadharma. The field of karma should be done with the attitude of karma yoga. So in the very end, I gave you a little formula to understand karma yoga siddhanta. Nothing of what I am going to speak is new because we have already seen this in the last 2 sessions. So the karma yoga siddhanta, what is the formula? Just like 2 plus 3 equals 5, 5 minus 3 equals 2. Similarly, karya plus karta equals karma. Karma minus karta, karya still remains. Let me put this in English. The act plus the doership equals the action. From the action, I remove the doership. It is not that we are left with no work. Act still remains. But that act is being performed selflessly, without the ego being there. So the example that we had taken, just to refresh our memory, the exact example that I had taken, that you are standing in a queue, the person right in front of you, in their purse, they pull out something and their wallet falls down. As soon as that wallet falls down, what do? Tap the shoulder and tell them, excuse me, आपका ये गिर गया है. Now, in that act of yours, in trying to intimate that person that their wallet has been lost and it is right next to them, they have to pick it up. See, this world is a little treacherous one. Once I see that it is fallen, so I picked it up and gave it to that individual. Oh, ulta, मुझे देख के बोलता है, कब चुराया? Because I picked it up and gave it. I said, when did you pick my pocket? That is why in my statement also I am saying, you don't need to pick it up. Tap their shoulder and say, नीचे गिर गया, उठा लो, अगर तुमको चाहिए तो. Why get blamed for doing something good? Now, in that act of yours, were you expecting that there would be some kind of shabashi? Were you expecting that for whatever coffee or tea or that you were standing in line for, that they would end up paying for you as well? Okay? तुम्हारा पर्स तुमको वापस कर दिया, एक कॉफी तो बनता है, पिला दो मुफ्त में. Do you have that anticipation? Or were you anticipating that there is somebody standing there recording this secretly and you become the next viral thing? There is no such anticipation. There is no such expectation. You just did it for the goodness of you that that person has lost it and you have reminded them that that has fallen. Similarly, supposing you have come, there is a child who is running to get into his car. He falls. You're there right next to that child who has just fallen. What do? You take a peek. Apna bachcha nahi hai. And just leave it. Immediately you bend down, pick that child, check if there is no harm done, dust him off and send him and give him an advice to be careful. In all these acts that have been given as example, is there a doership? Is there a kartrutva bhava, that there is some anticipation? Is there a bhoktrutva bhava, that I am doing it so that I can enjoy it? There is neither doership nor enjoyership. Yeah, maybe after you go back home, then you narrate this incident to your family people and then you add your bhelpuri masala to it. Aaj pata hai kya hua? And then you narrate all the instances. There you may be anticipating something, but at that point when it happened, act happened. The doership was not there. The enjoyership was not there. So it is not an impossibility that the scripture is prescribing, Bhagavad Gita is prescribing. Bhagavan, when he is saying this to Arjuna, it is not an impossibility that only a certain few can do it. Any layman can do it, and I have given the examples for it. That in the Karma Yoga Siddhanta, Karya plus Karta, the act plus the doership, equals the action. Now, what does the Karma Yoga Siddhanta say? From this action, remove the doership. As soon as you remove the doership, what remains is the act in its purity. Now, while you are doing it, while you are doing it selflessly, add another aspect to this attitude. Dedicate every action that we are doing to the highest altar while being selfless. That act in itself, that attitude in itself changes the way we perform our actions. The action doesn't remain as anymore a mundane activity. It becomes the very worshipful attitude towards everything that I am involved in. Now, while we perform this, Bhagavan says, there should be a sense of balance. Samatvam yoga uchyate. See, the shloka that, the meaning that I just said, the karma yoga siddhanta, the shloka everybody knows. Karmanye vadhikaraste, ma phaleshu kadachana, ma karma phala hetur bhuhu, ma te sangostva karmani. So I gave you the gist of it. But while performing it with this selfless, dedicated act, do it being in balance. The moment we say do it with balance, what gets completely thrown out of the picture is a sense of efficiency is lost. If you give your child something to cut and you give them specificity of instruction, that this vegetable has to be cut in a julienne means long cut, and it has to be this thin. पहले कभी काटा नहीं होगा. So now they are standing there taking each vegetable piece and then giving it according to that instruction. They're doing it very balanced. But what is lost? Efficiency is lost. Therefore, Bhagavan says in the very next shloka, he says, Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Dexterity in action while maintaining balance, while doing it as an act of dedication, selflessly, is the right attitude of performing in the field of action. Now, what is the purpose of performing the action with this kind of karma yoga attitude? Selfless actions dedicated to the highest altar, doing it in balance, doing it and expressing it with dexterity, with kushalata, that selflessness purifies our antakarana. What is the logic there? How does it purify? Just like the cloth requires a detergent, Karma Yoga Siddhanta and its application is the detergent to remove various layers of vasanas that have been accumulated, not just this life, from various lives that we have been carrying. How does it purify? The purification process is that whenever the act is performed selflessly dedicated to the highest altar, of course maintaining the balance and expressing it with karya kushalata or dakshata, when you are performing it, the existing layers of vasanas are expressed, no new vasanas are created, thereby the antakarana, which is ridden with lot of dust of this vasanas, is cleared gradually, thereby purifying our antakarana. Even in Hanuman Chalisa we saw, where Tulsidas ji in the first two chaupais, he says, Nija Manu Mukuru Sudhari, that the mirror of our mind, antakarana, has accumulated lot of dust. Probably Tulsidas ji was also living in an environment just like Hyderabad, that you dust the surface in the morning, by evening you run your finger on the surface, there is a thick layer of dust. Now imagine on a mirror, if you have not cleaned it for several months, it is not just accumulated, it is now stuck on that mirror. Usually, Indian mirrors have a lot of things on it. So, you're washing your face, there is the bindi on your face with a sticker. So what do? You take it out, stick it onto the mirror, wash your face, sometimes forget, sometimes remember after a few days, pull it out. There is a residual gum and other things also stuck. On the top of it, all this dust also has accumulated. Now you throw some water and try cleaning it, it is not going to work. What do? The best way is if you have this bhasma, mix it with water, sprinkle it on that dusty surface. Take a paper, newspaper is enough, and then wipe it down. This dust which you have sprinkled on it, when moved with the paper, removes the already existing dust, clearing it out without making it a mess. You might have seen, if you have ever traveled in a bus, just before the bus starts off, the cleaner is busy with a newspaper on the entire windscreen of the buses. What are they trying to do? Trying to remove the dust by applying another dust which is wet with a paper, making it clean. Similarly, कांटे को कांटे से निकालते हैं, right? The existing layers of vasanas accumulated because of our karma are removed with the karma alone. Therefore, there is no point trying to avoid the field of karma, because that is the most potent tool that we have to clean the antakarana. Cleaning the antakarana, what does it provide? The cleaner the antakarana, the individual is now equipped, qualified for the self-knowledge. Where did we begin? Sorrows, miseries, all of these happen because of my own ignorance of the self. By applying this field of karma, as Karma Yoga Siddhanta prescribes, I am cleaning the antakarana, wherein there is high opportunity for me, high possibility for me to understand my own true nature. Without this cleansing of our mind, how much ever we study Upanishads, how much ever we study Vedanta, it will not make an ounce of impact in our lives. In fact, when Puja Gurudev started speaking this Vedantic wisdom in English way back in 1951, this year we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of that great sankalpa of Puja Gurudev. When he started, there were many orthodox people, especially in Chennai. They would say, this sacred knowledge should be given only to qualified people. You cannot go into the bazaar and keep talking about it. They in fact took Puja Gurudev to, then there was a great Swamiji in the Kanchi Peetham, Chandrasekhar Saraswati ji. So they took Puja Gurudev to Chandrasekhar Saraswati ji and said, he is speaking this Vedantic knowledge in Mlecha Bhasha, English, in public. How can he give this knowledge to everybody like this? The Gurudev said, don't worry, only the qualified will understand it. Those who are not qualified either will remember the jokes or sleep through the sessions. Hearing him humorously answer, Chandrasekhar Saraswati ji, it seems, said that nobody can stop him because Saraswati Devi is dancing on his tongue. Who can stop such individual? Without this purification process, that knowledge becomes useless. Therefore, Karma Yoga is such a beautiful tool. But instead, not knowing this Siddhanta, many of us, when we look at our own life, our own field of action, we look at our karma as a burden. In Telugu, we say, what do we say? Baruvu Badhyatalu. Badhyata, the responsibility, is often tagged with a word called burden. In Hindi, काम का बोझ. I mean, I can understand it becoming a burden, a boj, if I am doing someone else's. I had to write homework. Between siblings, there is always this deals that keep happening. I do this for you, you do that homework for me. Oh, you didn't know? Between siblings, this happens. So if I am doing someone else's homework, it is a burden. But life and the experiences that I am going through, it is not someone else's karma. It is my own field of action. How can my own field of action become a burden? If it is, that means I am not perceiving that field of action in the correct context. That very field of action is the very solution for me to purify and grow out of the layers of vasanas that I am completely engrossed in. Now, Bhagavan says, in order to reach to that point of purification, a certain amount of discipline is required. Certain amount of dedication is required. Certain amount of shama dhamma is required. Dhamma is the control of organs of perception action. Shama, control of our own mind. Sadly, we go through the entire life. Nobody introduces this key, beautiful, important aspect to us, which should have been introduced to us way before we start experiencing life in the outside world. So if you remember, I had mentioned, way back in our Gurukula way of education, the first thing that the teacher, the parents, their focus is introduce the child to something called the Sandhya Vandana, wherein they are given a certain discipline. What is the discipline? You have to wake up at least an hour before the sun rises. That is the Brahma Muhurta Kala. Who are we expecting this from? A 4 to 5-year-old is expected to wake up in the Brahma Muhurta Kala, because the Sandhya Vandana is the worship of that Surya Bhagavan, and you have to offer Arghya to that sun before he is rising. A discipline of waking and sleep. And then they are introduced to the mantra of that very Gayatri mantra, which they have to chant 3 times a day. And each time that they have to chant it 108 times. I don't know where that logic or Siddhanta has come and crept in, that we now hear people saying, we have introduced our child to the Sandhya Vandana, Yajnopavita Samskara. He's not able to do 108 times. So we said it is okay to do 11 times. Where? Who has approved it? The best effect of it is when you do it 108 times, and that too if you can do 3 times a day. In the Gurukula, that was the expectation. Now what is being taught to the child? Through that discipline of chanting 108 times, 3 times a day, the child is being introduced to discipline the structure of our own mind and thinking. We know our minds run here and there, specifically so when we sit down for satsang or japa or meditation. Now the child is introduced to sit and chant this 108 times loudly. Now, as the child is chanting it in synchronization with the breathing loudly, the mind and its scattered existence becomes reordained, resynchronized to one single thought being repeated again and again and again. So, what is being introduced to the child? A technology with which the mind is now gathered, focused, channelized, and the energies are routed. Just like when you buy a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler for your child, do you just buy it and give it to them? What is the prerequisite? First, you have to apply for license. As you have applied for the license, you get a 2-month period where you have to practice. Either you teach them or you employ somebody to teach them. You ensure that they go through that process of learning the system so that when they do get the license and the permit, they can be safe on the road. Isn't it? Otherwise, it would be irresponsible of us as parents to just give a vehicle and not know if they are capable of it or not. It is not just dangerous for them, through them it is a danger for the entire society. But sadly, we let our children go out into the world without knowing how to tame their own mind, how to tame their own emotions, how to tame their own angers, how to tame their own disappointments, how to grow out of it, how to channelize their energies, how to bring their mind away from distractions into something that they have to be focusing it upon. Now, once that mind has this discipline instilled and they perform these actions, they come to that point where the antakarana is purified enough. Now, what is the proof that the antakarana is purified? You start experiencing immense amount of peace within. When Gurudev says in the pledge that we chant, giving more than what we take, producing more than what we consume, what is he indicating about? If we come to the conclusion, I give more problems to the world than I can take. So I'm already following the pledge. I'm producing more miseries than I can consume. I'm already living to the pledge. I can give peace and stability to the environment that I am integral part of, provided I myself am stabilized in that peace within. That balance is required. Without that balance, life and its experiences, we are incapable of facing it. And this stress of the outside world that the mind goes through, there are severe repercussions of that mental agitation on the physical body. Psychosomatic diseases, psychological diseases, ADD, ADHD, OCD, So I knew a kid who had OCD and he said, Swamiji, because I have OCD, I cannot say it as OCD because they are not in alphabetical order. So I always introduce it as CDO in the alphabetical order. OCD matlab there is a compulsive behavior to put everything in order. The very acronym OCD is also changed as CDO because it has to be in that sequence. Now all these aberrations that which plague us as human society, the stresses go to such far extent that the child is not able to face the results of the exam. Sadly, that around Tank Bund, on the day of and the day after the results are announced, the police have to be on Gashti. Why? Because they are not able to face their own mind, their own disappointments. They are ready to quit living. Suicides. From all these aberrations, if there is something that we have to grow and learn from, is we have to be introduced to that internal equipoise, balance through this disciplined way of approach. The one who has such disciplined way of approach alone can find peace, and the one who has found peace can alone enjoy happiness in life. A very crucial point, a very beautiful point that Bhagavan is trying to make here. If the mind is not at peace, even the worldly enjoyments that which we come across, we will not be able to cherish them. So the corollary of it makes it even more easier for us to understand. If our mind is agitated, can I be happy? Supposing I like gulab jamun, hot, fresh, well-made gulab jamun with a scoop of butterscotch on the top trickling down. Visualized it? Now, if your mind is agitated, can you enjoy it? The example that I had given was, if just as you gathered all of this into your cup, into your bowl, you get a text message from your office server. Mr. Kumar, we regret to inform you that you have been fired. Will that cup of gulab jamun, hot gulab jamun with ice cream on the top, sound palatable? You put it aside, start calling up all your resources, all your contacts, and as you are fretting away in all these phone calls, you receive another text. We are extremely sorry that this message was supposed to be intended for Mr. Kumar in Q&R, quality and research. It is sent to you. Your job is in place. The other fellow has lost his job. As soon as your agitated mind settles down, then you come back and say, "Kahan gaya mera gulab jamun?" Your thought again comes back to it. That which is a simple joys of life, that also we cannot enjoy it unless we are at peace. But how is our mind? It is constantly shattered into pieces. So Bhagavan in the 53rd and the 54th shloka, 52nd and 53rd shloka, He is trying to say, though we have done it, please repeat after me, just so that we can catch up. Page number 315, 52nd shloka, repeat after me. Yada te mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Beautiful. When the antakarana purifies because of dedicated act of karma yoga siddhanta being applied diligently in every walk of life. Karma yoga should not be misunderstood as once in a blue moon kind of an act, once in a week, once in a month kind of an act. That doesn't qualify it to be karma yoga siddhanta being applied. You don't become karma yogi. Every single thought, word, deed that which is entertained by us is done with that attitude. That is when it is called karma yoga in practice. When that is being practiced, what happens? There is a similar context which we had seen in Bhaja Govindam. What does Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji say in the 9th shloka? He says, Satsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Muktihi. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Being in this constant encouraging environment of satsanga, constantly educating, reminding my own antakarana again and again, how and what to do, with what attitude to do, with what discipline to do. What should be the result of that? Satsanga gives us viveka. Even Sant Goswami Tulsidas ji says, Binu satsanga viveka na hoi. Without satsanga, there is no possibility of viveka. But what is the proof that there is viveka? Wherever there is viveka, there has to be vairagya. Don't misunderstand vairagya again as complete disinterest in the world. It is not disinterest. Complete disenchantment with expectations from the world. There is nothing that attracts or distracts. There is nothing that compels or repels. If something comes, you celebrate it, and something leaves, that also you celebrate. Agate swagatam kuryat, nirgate na nivarayet. Vairagya is that attitude wherein I am very clear that that which I am anticipating from every interaction, this vastu, this paristiti, this vyakti cannot provide that for me. Now once I am very clear that it cannot be given by that environment, would I be attracted by it or distracted by it? There is no raga, there is no dvesha. Raga dvesha viyukta istu vishayan indriyascharan. Without that raga dvesha, I have reached to that state which Adi Shankaracharya ji has called it nirmohatvam. There is no moha, there is no vyamoha. I am not deluded by anticipating my happiness from the world outside or through karma. That is what we learnt in the 47th shloka. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Act we must. But that which I am anticipating from the field of action, it cannot give me even an iota, even a small fragment of what I am anticipating from it. And what is it that we are all anticipating? A sense of peace, a sense of security, and a sense of happiness. We set up an appointment with the world outside, anticipating these factors, and the world always disappoints, saying it cannot provide. I don't need Bhagavad Gita and Bhagwan's words. Aren't our own life experiences proof enough? Our own near and dear people, that who you anticipated sense of security and happiness from, have they not disappointed? Have you not been a disappointment to others? Isn't that the fight between every generation? Son, I am disappointed in you. How many times the parent has not said that to you? Bola hoga? How many times as a parent you have not said that to your children? Our own experiences are a proof that the world outside cannot provide that which I am anticipating. That sense of security, that sense of happiness will not be given by it. Knowing this, I am neither attracted to it nor distracted by it. That moha kalila, that vyamoha is not there. And when the vyamoha is not there, the expression is of vairagya. I have nothing to lose. Yadate moha kalilam buddhihi vyatita rishyati. My buddhi is not disturbed by these paltry things that keep happening. When the buddhi reaches to that state wherein it is not distracted by these simple things that keep happening in life, that buddhi has gathered the potency to focus on that which you must. Yadate moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Otherwise, I think it is Purandaradasa that writes in Kannada. He says, which I think Balamurali Krishna has translated it into Telugu and also sung it. Every individual, for every little thing for it to happen or not happen, we get disturbed by these happenings. ब्रतुकंता चिंते जीवी की मनसा ब्रतुकंता चिंते पेरू धनमु चिंते. Those who have name and fame, we are always worried who is going to disturb it. Peda tanamu chinte. Being in poverty, that is also quite disturbing. Peru dhanamu chinte, peda tanamu chinte, peru kunna bangaramu chinte. Now supposing you have earned heavily, you have the entire locker filled with Lakshmi Devi. It is only a feel-good factor that I have gold. Where is it? And not that we go every month, every Amavasya, every Purnima, we go to the bank, open the locker, look at all the jewels and feel, I have wealth. Seldom people go back. Years, they don't even look at what they have in their locker. Why don't you have it on yourself or at home? Perukunna bangaramu chinte. That which has been accumulated. In Telugu we say, right? కష్టపడి ఓ 4 రాళ్ళు వెనకేసుకోవాలి. పెద్ద రాళ్లే వేసుకున్నారు. పేరుకున్న బంగారము చింతే. Sati unna chinte, sati leka chinte. Having a spouse is chinta. And those who don't, not having it is chinta. If there is a daughter or a son of a marriable age and not getting married, ask the parents, what kind of chinta? Having been in that married field, that also is chinta. So therefore they say, शादी ऐसी लड्डू है जो खाए पचता है, जो ना खाए वो भी पचता है. So everything, like, if somebody talks to me, I am disturbed. If somebody refuses to talk to me, that also I am disturbed. If somebody looks at me, I am disturbed. Somebody doesn't look at me, that also is disturbance. If somebody looks at me and smiles, I know what they're thinking. मेरे को मालूम है वो क्या सोच रहे हैं मेरे बारे में. कई को हंस रहे मेरे को मालूम. And if somebody doesn't smile, see, I was there right in front of them, still they ignored me. For all things that swings in life, this kind of buddhi that has vairagya refuses to slip and fall. Shrotavyasya, shrutasya cha. Of that which has to be heard or not heard, the buddhi has now gotten the stability not to be distracted, not to be disturbed by anything from the outside. You don't have to reach to the state of realization. Having reached to this state of understanding itself, can you imagine the sense of freedom? That nothing of somebody does or doesn't will not distract me or disturb me from within. Jo karna kar lo, jo ukhadna ukhad lo. Can you imagine the sense of lightheartedness and freedom that one can experience? And Adi Shankaracharya takes it to the other extreme. He says, Kaupinavantaha khalu bhagyavantaha. The one who has only kaupina. He has nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Such mind is the most at peace kind of a mind. Shrotavyasya, shrutasya cha. Shruti vipratipannate, repeat after me. Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadha vachala buddhi tada yogam avapsyasi. Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadha vachala buddhi. That mind, that antakarana, that buddhi which is now undisturbed, unperturbed by the outside factors, which is now endowed with a sense of peace from within, it reaches to that equipoised nature quite gradually, quite naturally. Samadhau achala buddhihi. What does samadhi mean? In Andhra, Telangana, samadhi is often misunderstood as the tombstone. సమాధులు కట్టేస్తుంటారు చూడండి. This is not that samadhi. The actual meaning is that state where samadhi, dhi meaning buddhi. Buddhi has reached to that sense of equipoise. Why? Because it is now settled in its own true nature. अपने स्थिति में स्थिर हो गया है, has settled in their own state of being. I love this word. When somebody falls sick, it is called disease. What does that mean? This is not at ease. Right? When you have regained your health, what is the Sanskrit word for it? Swasthya. Right? What does swasthya mean? That individual has regained swasthiti, swasthya. You check the blood pressure, 170 by 115. There is palpitations, there is everything that you can now imagine. You breathe, you drink water, you sit down quietly, you take some medication, and then after 15 minutes, you recheck again. It has come down to 135 by 80. How do you feel? You feel pretty balanced from within. Why? The health has come back to its normal state of being, swasthiti. Coming to swasthiti is called swasthya. As long as the body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, nobody cares about it. We have taken it for granted. That day when it goes 2 degrees up, कुछ तो हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है? I like the Hindi word there. जहां पे चैन नहीं, बेचैनी. बेचैनी मतलब जहां पे चैन नहीं है. You are not in balance. Physically, you have understood the example. Similarly, in the antakarana level, we have seldom seen an equipoised state of being. Probably, if we have experienced, which I'm sure all of us can agree, is when you have a good sleep, undisturbed sleep. On a Sunday afternoon, you had a special meal, and it's not the same dal chawal roti as every day. It is a special meal, and you finished it up with what is South Indians' favorite? At the end, curd rice. Nice curd rice. You sealed it. You sealed the deal. And you are sitting in front of the TV, watching some show. The remote fell from your hand. Your head is hanging like that awkwardly. You are knocked out completely. And nobody disturbed you. You wake up from that deep sleep. As soon as you wake up from that deep sleep, how do you feel? If you are waking up from a dream state, you will wake up groggy. But if you are waking up straight from deep sleep, you will wake up fresh. You will wake up with a lot of pleasantness. What has happened? The antakarana was not disturbing. I can only realize it as an after effect. Now imagine reaching to that state where the antakarana is not disturbing while you are awake and you have consciously come to that point. That state is called samadhi. Samadhau achala buddhihi. To sit in that, to be in that state of balance, achala, without movement. हमसे यहाँ पे अभी 1.5 घंटा ठीक से बैठने नहीं होता है. Except for 2 or 3 people, everybody is sitting in a chair. उस चेयर में ट्विस्ट एंड टर्न्स कितने बार हुए. Leg forward, leg backward underneath, one leg here, taking the support on the shoulder, on the elbow, and then reverse, constantly moving. If we cannot even sit quietly, imagine sometimes there are people when they are sitting, they cannot manage themselves to be quiet. If you ask them for their externalities to be quietened, somewhere that restlessness has to flow. They'll start moving their legs. Stop this leg will start moving. You stop both legs, then they'll start moving their button or that pen, pen, something or the other, the movement has to continuously happen. Therefore, whether it is Bhagavatam, whether it is the Upanishad, they say the first sign, it starts from Sthira Asana. Asana Siddhi. Sit and sit there in that position without moving. Jitasana. Then Jitashvasaha. Balance your breathing. Then Jitatma, having conquered, balanced the Antakarana. Atma here means Antakarana. Jita Asanaha, Jita Shvasaha, Jita Atma. But it is not a simple act that you can come on the seat of meditation, sit, close your eyes and automatically पहुंच गया. नहीं होगा. Gurudev used to emphatically say, whenever he talked on this topic, for that individual who has lived a meticulous life of 23.5 hours, when they put the effort for half an hour on the seat of meditation and the mind reaches to that equipoise state for half a second, understand that mind has progressed. If our achara, vichara, vyavahara, if that is not, lifestyle is not changed, suddenly coming to spirituality for 1 hour, it is not going to make an effort, it is not making a dent in our life. That 23.5 hours of our day-to-day life has to be paid attention to. Otherwise, this 1 hour becomes an escapism pattern to escape from that 23.5 hours. Therefore, Upanishads like Kathopanishad, Mundakopanishad, they say very clearly, Baba, this Atma, this Samadhi Sthiti, balahinena na labhyaha. Atma, balahinena na labhyaha. The one who does not have the strength to sit quiet, the strength to balance their own shwasa, the strength to maintain their mind in quietude. Forget about being in that state of balance within. Samadhau achala buddhi, achala. Achala meaning being consciously bringing that antakarana to a position wherein it does not move. Where are we? The mind is scattered all over the place. Now, to bring that scattered mind to one focal point, how difficult do we find it? To take that mind which is now brought into one focal point, to repeat one thought, japa, without any distractions, without any other thoughts, how difficult is it? Then to arise into a situation wherein I am not repeating the one thought, but I am maintaining one thought without repetition. Like cycling on two wheels. And then I've seen sometimes, very surprised. When there is a red signal, the cycle stops and that fellow, without putting his foot down on two wheels, is maintaining a balance. How difficult it is to maintain that one thought without repeating is that kind of a balance. And then, without any thought, being in that state of being, samadhau achala buddhihi tada yogam avapsyasi. That person has truly attained to that yoga. Somebody asked Puja Gurudev, Swamiji, do you not teach yoga? Yogasanas, they meant. So Gurudev said in his own emphatic way, I believe in straightening the mind than twisting the body. Not that he said that yoga or yogasana practices are not required. That field in the initial stages is required. But here when we are talking about that antakarana which can stay absorbed in its own true nature has nothing more to gain. Why? All that which you are anticipating has already been experienced within. Now when Arjuna hears this, how old was Arjuna at that time? How old was Bhagavan Krishna on that battlefield? In their late 80s. Almost concluding the 9th decade. So they have vast experience of life. If somebody has lived 90 years, what vast experience. In that vast experience of Arjuna,